Well, having been a person that took a minor in PE, wanted to coach, at the bachelor's degree, and then again after the Korean War, getting that master's, I minored in PE, wanted to coach, and did coach right after the graduating with the master's. One of the things that the PE teachers, the PE textbooks stressed for people in physical education was that we should develop good intramural programs, not just put all of our energy into the varsity sports. Now, in the real world, there's no question. Coaches get hired to be an expert in one or more sports, and they're pretty well held with their feet to the fire that you win or else. Don't know if that's right, but that's the real world. And intramural programs might be talked of in theory, but there's hardly a coach around that considers an intramural program as a high priority. But here I was, a person who did a minimal amount of coaching before being very minimal, before becoming a school superintendent, and I kept thinking, I should try to develop an intramural program. But as a superintendent, I never got into that. And probably shouldn't, because you're a little too far removed from the appropriate level of administration and supervision. But here I am now, after 5 years as a superintendent, 2 years as a college prof, and I'm in a good school district with a good junior high developing. It's time, Mr. Riggs, to try to get a good intramural program going, and it would make this a better school. And I had some staff members who would be just very, very good at helping with that. All those guys that played basketball were, they had an athletic bent, and they weren't all coaches by any means. Well, you go back then and you look at what were the criteria that the program theorist stressed. Number one, total inclusion, that you set it up so that every child in the unit that's represented in the intramural contest, that every child participates. Barring a total physical inability to do so, every child participates. The second criteria, you try to develop the spirit of groupness and group success as being as important as who actually wins the individual contest. Sure, go for it to win, but face up to the fact that for you to win, you've got to get everybody to contribute because everybody has to play. Well, talked it up with some of the staff members, had a session or two of it in that open session at the end of faculty meetings, and by golly, we got enough of a green light that drew up some rules and regulations to have an intramural program that would attempt to meet those two criteria. Not easy. I wouldn't even start to tell you that every staff member favored getting this program going. No, not at all. I don't know percentage-wise, but it would be pretty close to 50-50 that were really for it and 50% that were against it and rather violently against it. Looked at it as, hey, this is adding another time requirement, another organizational requirement, just an extra load that I don't have time for and I don't want. But it got underway anyway. Went real well. I kind of know, where I needed to appear a little bit more regularly to see that it had a chance to go with, you have to have two of the teachers that weren't really for it playing each other. But hey, I don't know how many times I just glowed with pride to see individuals who ordinarily wouldn't want to be seen on the court with that boy or that girl that's got two left feet, encouraging that kid. Come on, you can do it. Oh man, now that's the spirit of intramural competition. What can we do as a team with all our strengths and all our weaknesses? Incidentally, the rule we had was that in that home room, and it was, you know, these were only like 15 or 20-minute games. I think 20 minutes with 5-minute quarters. In every game, nobody could play more than 2 full quarters. If you played 2 full quarters, that was it. If you played partial quarters, you could be in 3. But every kid had to be in for at least half of the quarter, 2 quarters. And so some kids that were scared to death to get out there soon found out, hey, I can do a little. I can be a part of helping my team succeed if I give them my best. I thought it was a great program. A lot of teachers that were not for it got pretty excited about it when they saw their kids really get in there and compete and do well. And it let teachers see a lot of kids in a different way, particularly some of the kids that are not for good academically in their subject, and they see them get in there and give their all in this little intramural contests. I thought it was a great program. We sure gave it our best shot. It did survive long after I moved on up to Sheridan, Wyoming, and left Evergreen.